Hi, I'm Olivia. I'm the Southern Yankee Stitcher, and this is Flosstube number 24. I have several finishes to share with you today. I've had a productive couple of weeks. I feel like I've got a lot of stitching done, finishing done. I got some cleaning done, and my spring break hasn't even started. My spring break would start, well, you're watching this on Monday the 21st. And it's technically the first day of spring break. I'm working Monday and Tuesday, the first days of spring break. I'm off the rest of that this week and next week. And I hope to finish organizing this room and get a lot more finishing done. I have some more projects that have been finished that aren't fully finished yet. So I'm going to start here with, I have some things to tell you, but I'll just work that in as we go. I'm just going to go ahead and start with these. Last time I showed you a whip, which was Prairie Schooler Spring and Fall. Oh, bad glare. March. Right here. The Lion and the Lamb. And it's got a couple of, it's so hard to get it out of these bags. I can't take it out there, really. The Lion and Lamb, it's got a couple of shamrocks here on each side of March. This is a piece that I put on my office door. And last time I told you I was behind. It was already March, and I hadn't even started. Well, I did like 2 little lines on it. Barely a start. But it's stitched up pretty fast. My game plan was to maybe cover up the sign on my door with a notice about prom tickets I'm selling. And but I got it stitched and put up, so I didn't have to cover up February for long. And while I'm off these 2 weeks, I'll do April, so I'll be good to go with that. I will have to insert pictures of this piece because I finished it in a couple of days. It goes really quick, and put it up at work. So I just took pictures of where it is up at work. I did been doing a lot of Prairie Schooler. You know, I went on a buying binge, Prairie Schooler buying binge a couple of months ago, and I'm really trying to stitch those. After 2 weeks ago, my video, I had 2 big finishes, and they're projects I had been working on for a while. So I wasn't sure what I wanted to start. So I started looking through my things and came across this Prairie Schooler chart, and Easter's coming up, so I decided to start it. And it's Prairie Schooler Folk Eggs. I keep wanting to call this Folk Art Eggs, but Folk Eggs is all it is. This, these stitch up really fast too. I stitched 3 of them. I did this one, and this one. Stitched 3 of them. There's 8, and fully finished them. So I'm going to go ahead and show you those. Now, these were a learning project. This is the first one I stitched. Well, let me back up a little bit. When I bought this chart, as soon as I saw it, I thought, oh, I know what I want to back those with. I know what kind of fabric to put on the back. And I told you all how I had a bunch of necktie fabric. Neckties have been cut up. And my mom had saw this craft, I guess you call it, in a magazine years ago. I mean, it must have been 80s, probably in the 80s. And saved a bunch of neckties to do this project. And it was, you just use the ends that are pointed, and you kind of wrap them around a wreath form. So it's like each point's facing the other, kind of like a train going around. Okay. And you just pin them into the styrofoam wreath form, and it makes a wreath. Well, I did one years ago that was red, white, and blue. I used different neckties, red, white, and blue, and I thought it turned out really cute. Back in another video, and I'll I'll post below which video it is. I made a video and I talked about it when I bought this chart. Talked about those wreaths and mentioned the neckties to you, and then I wanted to back them up with neckties. And I just happened to get a magazine in the mail that had a necktie wreath, and they had the points facing out all the way around like a flower petals or sun rays. Well, so I went into my fabric stash. I really don't have a whole lot, but I have a lot of these necktie pieces. And like, here's a piece. Now, when you do the neckties, you don't take all the stitching out. You leave the point sewn. And the point is that you just cut the bottom off and use it like that. But I knew I was going to use these. Like, here's one. It's not taken apart. Well, it's a little bit. You do use it when it's already sewn. That's backwards. Sorry. Anyway. So you have some cool looking fabrics, and some of them are silk. And I thought they would be cool for the back of Easter eggs. And even some, like I didn't like the front, but the back I thought was kind of cool. I really like this one. This is a silk. I really like that one too. Some of these, I mean, whoo, these are some wild ties from the 70s and 80s. But this just gives you an example of what I had, and I'm really trying to stitch and use stuff from stash. So I pulled out a bunch of colors that I liked, and I cut out all the egg forms. Now the chart calls for, I think it's 18 count black Aida. I had 14 count. So the pattern, well, I can't show you that. They have an egg pattern in here. I had to get out my compass and go around the pattern, make it a little bit bigger to make the egg form. And I just use chipboard. It's probably not acid free what I have. It's like what came with, it might be. It's what came with like scrapbook paper. It was in the back and I saved those. So I cut out all, I was going to need 16 pieces. One piece for the back and one for the stitching in the front. And, you know, when you're dealing with this, it's a real, it's a stiff Aida, real stiff. And now I've watched Vonna Pfeiffer's finishing videos. And if she did a brown or egg shape, if she did a round one, she laced it and kind of pulled it all together to bring it around perfectly. I didn't think I could do that with this Aida. I didn't even try, but I just didn't think I could do it. So I used hot glue. And sometimes hot glue and I are not friends. But anyway, I stitched, finished, and fully finished 3 of the eggs. And I'm just going to show those to you here. This is the first one. That's the back. Some necktie fabric. I got a little, this is the first one I did. I kind of messed this one up. Mainly because I was trying to rush. I mean, you got to take your time with these things. I bought this cording at Hobby Lobby. And I was like, what do I do at the end here where they're going to meet? I really wasn't sure what to do. So I watched some of Vonna's tutorials. And she just wraps thread around the end real tight and kind of sews it in there. She used a perfect example of tying off the umbilical cord. You know, you tie it off and then you cut it. So I did that. I tied it off. I cut it. I put the hanger between the two, and I glued them. I put the cording on next to last, and I did the bow. And this one's a little bit wonky, but it'll pass. It's okay. Then I did this one. And I used all the called for on here except for this color here. And if you see, I mean, I got as close as I could get. I have, I have so much DMC. And I just bought all that at the thrift store. That DMC that was, like $1. And so I was not going to go buy a tan when I could find one that would match up. So I matched as close as I could. This one, the pinks on here are more kind of corally pink looking. The one in the middle here. But the pink I chose from mine because I didn't have that one color. I just did this one. I thought it was a little more Eastery looking. And put a pink bow on it. And here's the back of that one. I think each one got a little bit better as it went along. You just have to go real slow. And this one, I think this one's so cute because the carrots on there. Bunnies and carrots. And that's a necktie on that one too. So, I'm going to, well, they'll all be different on the back, and I like that. Right now, they're just hanging off some little nails that are on my mantle where I can hang stockings. And I'm hanging them there. If I find a tree that I like, I would maybe like to have a little tree in my living room. I want it to be very primitive, even if it's just wooden, to hang little things on. I don't really want like a pine-looking tree, if that makes sense. So it's 3 out of 8 done, and something behind it. That's not good enough. And I'm working on the 4th. This one I changed the colors. It's a barn, and I substituted this red, and it's a DMC color, and I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. But, you stitch these things. You can change them. You can make them your own. You don't have to do exactly what they have. So those are coming along, and I hope to get those done in the next 2 weeks while I'm on break. All right. My next finish was a Teresa Kogut pattern. This was in the Punch Needle Primitive Stitcher magazine in the Spring 2020 issue. It's called Chocolate Bunny. I finished stitching this over a year ago. I don't think I've ever showed it to y'all, but I never fully finished it. But I did this week. You may have seen it on Instagram. I finished this. I used similar colors, but I was stitching from stash. This is also an Aida fabric, brown that I had. This brown Aida's from the 80s, y'all. I mean, I have some old Aida in my stash. And the colors were just, I didn't have to do a lot of stitching with each color. So I have, I've showed you all these before, where I used to stitch a long time ago. That's how I kept my thread when I had a kit. Oh, which one of them is that? It was on a Cheerio box. So these, I have no idea what these colors are. Most of them, these all were in a kit that I stitched. Probably a Christmas stocking kit. So I don't have a lot of those colors, but those are the kind of colors I used for this. Because I knew I wouldn't need a lot, would need to match it up. I backed it just with this piece of, I forget what you call this fabric. It's just a cotton. Chambray, is that right? That's not right, is it? But this is fabric. Back in 1991, I made a pair of summer overalls, maternity overalls for myself out of this fabric, and this was pieces that were left over. My stash goes way back. For Christmas, I got one of these. It's a Kreinik Custom Corder. And it comes with directions. No, it was right the first time. Anyway, I didn't use these directions. I did read them. It's not a lot. But I'm like, I went and watched Vonna Pheiffer. I watched the video all the way through. She did cording with one color, with two colors, and with metallics. And she used this tool with a cup hook mounted in her craft area. Well, I use this tool with one of the nails that's on my mantle permanently to help hang a stocking, is what I used. Somebody had commented on the some of my videos about using this quarter, and she would get her husband to hold the other end. And even though I didn't need him, I thought about going and asking him, will you hold this for me while I make it? Because I know he would be so thrilled not to help me out. But this was so neat. And I didn't write down the DMC colors, but for this piece, it measured about 20, I think it was 21 inches around. I did 60 inches of DMC of each color, and I just followed the directions that I watched it all the way through her video, and then I went back to the one that was 2 colors, and I just did each step, paused it, did each step, paused it. You know, once you do it a few times, it's not hard, but I didn't want to miss a step and do something wrong. I stuffed this with my favorite stuffing, sawdust. I love it. I was so excited about that. So excited. I had another start and finish since the last video. Just drop something. And it is another Prairie Schooler. Santa's 12 Days of Christmas. I'm doing all 12 days, and I wanted to do one a month and try and get an extra one in somewhere throughout the year so that, like, December 1st, after Thanksgiving, I can put up these Santas. Well, I had one done, day 1, and since the last video, I stitched and finished day 2. I think I told you last time I decided to put them all in one piece. So here are my 2 days. This is a 32 count Lambswool Jobelin, and I'm using the called for DMC. I love these. They're so cute. The next one is 3 laying hens. You see it there? I love chickens. We had chickens when I was growing up, and we would get peeps, and then we would raise them, and we had them for eggs, and we would also kill them and eat them. But I would never eat the chicken. Like, when my parents would kill chickens, they normally put everything in the freezer. That's what they did. They, every so often they would, I don't know why, when you have to do it. If I get chickens, I only want them for the eggs. But if my mom, when I was a kid, made chicken with chicken from the freezer, I would not eat dinner that night because I knew it was one of my pets. But if she, bought chicken at the store and made something, I was all about it, But I would like to have chickens. I keep talking about it. I used to garden a lot, and they make some natural fertilizer, and if you let them in your garden with some supervision, they'll just eat the bugs. That might be damaging your plants. So I mean, they can be really good for a gardener to have. And I would just like maybe 4 or 5, so I could have some eggs. I would never want to have them for meat or anything. But my husband's like, nope, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. He's like, we'd have to worry about, predators coming after them. And I mean, we do have hawks around here. We have some coyotes around here and stuff like that. So, I guess we would have to worry about that. So, anyway, maybe when I retire, I'll have some chickens. But I've never stitched anything with a chicken on it, as much as I like chickens. And so I'm excited to do that next. Start day 3. These are all the colors. Prairie Schooler, I just don't mess with their colors. I use what they call for. And for the 12 days, these are all the colors. Aren't they pretty? I just really like it. I had another finish, fully finished this week. You all have seen, that's the chart I dropped. I think I can reach it. Okay. Plum Street Sampler. George decorates for Martha. I did this back in the fall. I stitched it and finished it back in the fall. But I never fully finished it. I wanted to finish it and put it in like a tray. I had a small wooden tray that would stand up so it would kind of act like a frame. I thought I would do that. And then I thought, no, I don't think I want to do that. I couldn't really decide on what to do. I wasn't in love with any of the finishes I had kind of come up with. So I thought, I'm going to make it into a pillow. Well, I went through my fabric stash, and while I was doing that, I came across some trim. Well, this has a little story, y'all. I am like extremely sentimental about things, and probably to a fault. Like, oh God, when my firstborn first went to school, I started saving like every paper she brought home, and I put them in a binder. And when we were even halfway through the school year, we had 2 binders full. My husband's like, you can't keep every piece of paper she puts a crayon mark on. I was like, I know, I just wanted to watch her progress, and and so I went through, I kept a few special things, got rid of the rest. But I mean, I can be a little over the top with that. So when my mom, about 15 years ago, decided to downsize and sell her family home, and she was moving into an apartment. It was just her in this big house by herself. It was a lot to keep up. It was a lot to keep up when it was, you had a house full of people, but doing it all on your own is just a lot. So we all understood that, of course, but she had a house full of stuff, and a lot of it she and my dad had got when they went to auctions. It was mainly antique furniture. There were a few things that I remember were my father's aunts. He had 2 aunts. One lived in California somewhere, and one lived somewhere in Iowa. It's 2 of his mother's sisters. And he was named executor in their wills, so he had to take care of all their property. And one of them, they had everything moved to Maryland, and they had a huge auction and stuff. This is when I was pretty young. I don't remember all the details, but some of that furniture that was my great aunt's was a great aunt I'd never met, but came to our family through my father. So, I always knew whose they were. One of them was Aunt Leslie, and I just remember that was Aunt Leslie's table, that was Aunt Leslie's this or that. So those things kind of seemed special to me, and they were more formal pieces of furniture. So when I was a kid, I just thought they were fancy, and I loved them. And one of them was a chair. And if I can find the picture, I'm going to insert a picture of the chair. It had fringe, like around the edge up here. There was fringe, and around the cushion and all. And when my mom was getting rid of things, that chair really needed to be reupholstered. The arms had worn kind of thin. And I said, I want the chair with the fringe. Because when I was a kid, I loved rubbing my hand along that fringe. And it was kind of a deep set chair, so I could sit in it like Indian style and read books in there. And it was in our formal living room, and that was a room we didn't use except for holidays, really. And but it had built-in bookshelves, and I would go up there and play and pretend I was like a rich lady, and this is my house. And anyway, when I was little, that's what I did. So I love the chair with the fringe. So I got it from her, and I put it in storage, and it was in storage for a few years. And then I decided, I'm gonna get that chair reupholstered and put it in the house. So I took a picture of it before I took it to be reupholstered. There's a man that used to go to my church, and he was up in age, but he still did upholstery, and he reupholstered the chair for me. Well, a friend of mine and I went shopping, and she's a interior designer. She helped me pick out some fabric that was it was pretty. It would go with my house. It was a lot of primary colors in it, and we found the fringe that matched it perfectly. So we were able to put fringe back on the fringe chair, and because that's what I wanted to do. Well, I tell you this big long story about a chair because when he reupholstered the chair, I asked him to save the old fringe on there, and I said, I don't know what I'll ever do with it, but I feel like I could do something with it. Well, I did. I used the old fringe that was on that chair that belonged to my great aunt, and I put it around this pillow. I washed it and just like laid it out in the sun on the porch to dry. This fringe is probably at least 100 years old. And I just thought it looked cute. It was not the easiest thing to finish this with the fringe, but y'all, I love this now. And this is just exactly what I would do when I was a kid. This fringe is so soft. It's cotton, and it's just really soft. Anyway, so now I still have a piece of the chair. I still have a lot more of the fringe that's in my stash. I don't need that stuff, y'all. It's too much. I know it's too much. But George Decorates for Martha turned out so cute. And I don't know where I'll put it in the fall. It may just sit in a little chair I have in my living room or in a basket. I dare anybody to lay their head on this pillow and take a nap. That's not what this is for. But I just stuffed it with fiberfill, and it's soft and squishy. And anyway, so I was just happy. I love this pillow now. It's one of my favorites now. So that is about all that I have. Like I said, I did a lot of stitching and got some things done, and I did a lot of finishing. That was really fun. It was fun. I also sewed something. I didn't take a picture of it or anything, but I made like this pillow cover for my mom. But I'm going to try. I also watched, while I was on a Vonna kick, I watched her tutorial on making a project bag. So I'm going to, hopefully our Hobby Lobby has the, what'd you call it? It was, whatever this stuff is that you iron on the inside of the fabric for the project bag. I hope our Hobby Lobby carries it, because if they don't, I'm going to have to order it online. It'll be a while, and I really want to do some this week. I have a bin sitting right here that has a bunch of fabric in it, and I'm going to, it's one of those things, once you make one, you can knock them out. So I'm going to try and get that done this week, the next 2 weeks. It'll probably be a couple weeks before I come back with another video. I'm going to be working on my third day of Christmas with the chickens and my folk eggs and get those done. I have some other Easter charts that are little smalls, and hey, I can make some cord now, and that's fun. So I may make some of those, and I need to figure out what small I'm going to stitch for StitchCon, for the Smalls Exchange. I really want to do that. I like giving to people, but man, I want to give small too, because that's cool. That's fun. So I'm going to do that and hopefully get out in the garden these 2 weeks. It's been really nice here. It's cool today. It's in the 60s, I guess, and windy, but it'd be a great day to garden. The pollen is real bad though, so I'll have to take like a sinus headache pill as soon as I come inside if I go outside and do any gardening, or I'll be sick with a headache. Last year I didn't garden at all because of my back, but I'm really hoping that I can do more this year, and I'm just gonna, once you have a back injury and you're feeling okay, you're really scared to aggravate again because it's hard to sometimes get back to where you were. But I've been doing okay for a while now. I kind of know what I can do, what I can't do. So I think if I just take it easy, I'll be able to do more gardening this year, and um, maybe I'll make a floss tube out in the garden because I have a cutting garden that has a lot of beautiful flowers in it. I would love for y'all to see it. Um, so I hope y'all have a great. If you're on spring break, I hope you have a good spring break, and I will see you next time.